The live streaming community, in my opinion, has created its own monster that it now has to kill. There's a need for more mature content, and I'm not saying mature as in adult, uh, you know, uh, rated X material. I'm talking about the level of maturity brought into the content. Yeah, don't get me wrong. That is a major thing. When you're talking about no disrespect intended, many people enjoy simple but well put together content, or even bad content with a charismatic streamer. You are absolutely right with that. And unfortunately, that's where we've end up with content that is childish. It's like the show Jackass. I mean, that is a prime example of, unfortunately, the way too much entertainment has gone. Let's see how many times you can have somebody do something that almost kills themselves for a laugh. It brings up something that happened this week when you say live streamers, though, and something I have kind of alluded to, or if not outright said, and I actually have outright said after one incident. The live streaming community, in my opinion, has created its own monster that it now has to kill. The toxic atmosphere that is leading to racism, misogyny, um, just outright hatred that the streamers are having to fight, in most cases, are created by the streamers and by the professional gaming organizations. I don't want to say the organizations, but the professional gaming atmosphere. You know, when they say trash talk is one thing. But let's say, for example, you're playing football or basketball, there's trash talk going on, but there is a referee there to say, you've crossed the line, it is now a penalty. In esports, they never refereed the trash talk. And that's carried over to live streams. And you get an instance like what happened. And apparently the video was from months ago. But some of you may have heard of the YouTube streamer who I couldn't even pretend to play the um, clip because it is disgusting. And this was on a live stream, and from what I've read, it's not anybody I necessarily would watch, um, but it was not a one-time thing. And he's gotten banned from Riot Games, permabanned from Riot Games over the video. But that's been kind of the slippery slope. And yet I saw comments in about the video where guys were defending in a way what the guy was doing, and there's no defense for it. But they were defending what the guy says. Oh, if you think that's bad, you ought to get into XYZ Games esports chats. That's just trash talk. No. And what the guy apparently had happening to him would have been, if it happened, is racist. There reaches a point where it's no longer funny. But the bigger issue is, and this is a kid, I mean, supposedly anywhere from 16 to 19 years old, there's some question. But we've reached the point where it's gotten out of hand. There's no referee to say, who's consistently saying, that's enough. Yeah, you can get banned from your different platforms and stuff now. But when everybody says, oh, this all started with esports, then what should have happened is in the esports community, they needed to have referees saying that's too far. The problem we've got is we've got a bunch of kids who are reading this, who are growing up, they're getting on Twitch, they're getting on YouTube, they're watching these people, and they think that's acceptable behavior. And so they're mimicking the acceptable behavior and they're growing up with it and they're growing into that culture. And then when they get called out on it, they're acting like big babies. This guy in particular, I saw a video response. I think he did the apology off the cuff. I think if he'd have stopped and thought about the wording, the apology would have been come across better. But it was a heartfelt apology. He gave some background as to what was happening, but to his credit, he didn't say that the stuff that was happening in the background gave him an excuse to say what he said. But the problem is, way too often we're dealing with a lot of apologies after the fact to things that should never have been said. And that is a big problem with the way things are going today in the live streaming community. You hear a lot of it about the way people treat female streamers and some of the comments they get in chat and some of the direct messages they get in their social medias. But you guys, and it is bad, but it is a result of people getting away with too much. We're glamorizing bad behavior. Communications technology, the fact that there's anonymity built in to the platforms means that people believe they can say anything with no consequence. That to me, as far as people feeling entitled to say what they want with no consequence, is a problem with any of the social media platforms that allow you to use strictly tags, and there's no way to get back to the original person. There's no profile information that says Mick Steele's real name is this. He is this old and da 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 da. That's kept in the back end so that when somebody gets on, let's say, Pokimane or Electra or not you, Alexa, Electra, stop. Or let's see, I know so many of these people, Sweet Tails, or Sweet Anitra. When people get on their chats and spew the junk that comes out, and these ladies have to deal with it because all they can do is ban the person. But there's almost no way that it actually gets back to that person. There's no real consequences for them unless they're a known streamer. I think it would be in the best interest of civility that at least in the background there be a certain amount of, as best they can, verified biographical information about who each person is that's on the platform. And I'm not talking about, their social security number or anything like that, but their name, their email address, which you already have to have, certain biographical information to back up the account, so that if it got to the point of threats, which in some cases it does across the board, against women, against men, mostly against women, but against all types, when it comes down to threats of violence, there needs to be a way through this barrier of anonymity. You can ban somebody and should ban somebody from a platform for hate speech, but you have to have a clear definition of hate speech. You need to be able to go after somebody legally when they call for violence. That is not covered under the First Amendment of the United States. To my knowledge, it's not covered under Freedom of Speech Acts anywhere in the world. When you call for violence against somebody, and we've gotten way off what started this initially, but it all boils down to the anonymity aspect has given people a feeling that they are empowered to say anything they want. And unfortunately, we've got a generation, multi generations of people who what they say, whether for effect, whether they mean it or not, don't realize that just because you can say it, it should be said. There are things being said in people's chats right now that should not be said ever, and they're getting away with it.